Watching the TED Talk gives a great perspective of the danger of the single story. And storytelling in itself is something that I not necessarily thought as a way to communicate, to expand on my leadership style, but understanding each other's story is very vital. I remember it was in my undergrad course that I took a class that gave me an overview of frame of reference, which is understanding that we all come from a different background, a different upbringing, and understanding that each individual comes with their own personal story allows us to be more open minded about the way they receive information, about the way they react. And this specific course for me really changed the way that I felt when it came to storytelling or understanding perspectives. I remember I would have constant arguments with one of my cousins. I was about 22 years old, and she would constantly make the comment that I was privileged. And the word came out very negative, and I took it very offensive because I didn't believe at that moment that I was privileged, because everything that I had or was working towards came with hard work, hard effort. My parents immigrated to this country to give me a better quality of life, but I still had to fight for so many things. And it was right into my first year of the military where she would tell me that I was so privileged, that everything was spoon fed to me. And we would argue back and forth about why I was not privileged. And she would try to argue why she thought that I was privileged. Where then, after I took that course, it helped me understand that, you know what, maybe her path has been different. Her story is different. To, in her eyes, what I have is a privilege. And so for me, that was an experience that allowed me to understand that because we all come from different backgrounds, though we are from the same family, our upbringings were different. And that gives us a different perspective of life. So that for me was a first introduction into understanding that we all come with our own stories. Then later on in my life, I actually, once I was in the military, one example that lives so vividly in my memory is when a counterpart threw a broom at me and told me that it was my responsibility to clean up after others because I was the woman. And this moment in my life was full of rage, because how can someone else feel that because I am a woman, that my only purpose is to clean. And so, thinking back and reflecting at this moment, this individual, he was white. And so I felt very prejudiced against him, thinking that he felt he was better than me, that he didn't know my worth. But in reality, he probably has a story as well. He has something that might have happened in his life. His upbringing might have played a critical part in the way that he spoke to women. And rather than now that I think back, knowing that maybe it wasn't necessarily his fault, I'm understanding how to communicate through these scenarios. Having the single story can be very dangerous because we don't know what others are going through. And if we take the time to understand others far beyond what we perceive is there, can be life changing. I have made it an effort to really understand each person's story. Working in higher education allows me to work with a diverse population of students, and I understand that each and every single student that I work with comes with their own background, with their own experience, regardless if we are from the same race, different ethnicity. We all have a different story, and I think once we understand and learn to listen, it will make an impact, especially as leaders and trying to make transformational change in understanding how to cultivate the differences that everybody brings to the table, and picking those strengths to build a diverse team would really be effective as we move forward into our transformational leadership style. Thank you so much.